Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Torigno, and this is your Chapter 7 test review. This first video will cover the first part of the test review, I guess the first half of the first part of the test review. This is the portion that you would not be able to use calculators on the test. So I'll be showing you methods of doing these problems without using a calculator. My plan is for this first video to cover questions 1 through 7, which is the left side of your paper. Okay, let's see if we can zoom in a bit for you. Okay, in question number 1, it's asking you to raise a power to a power, and your rule for that is always to multiply your exponents together. So really all I'm doing here is doing 4 times 3. Now, this negative sign out here is sort of set there just to confuse you, to see if you're going to try to mess with that at all. But you don't have to, because it's not in parentheses, so nothing is happening to it. That negative sign is just going to stick around on your answer, and 4 times 3 will give you 12, so your final answer will be negative z to the power of 12. The second one uses a similar method. You don't have that negative sign to worry about, but you are raising powers to powers, so you're still using that rule that says you would multiply your exponents together. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 5 is 15. And that's it for that one. Okay, question 3 gives you the quantity 4x cubed and wants you to square that whole thing. Remember, that means you have to square the 4 and square the x cubed. And those follow 2 totally different sets of rules because one's a number and one's a power. So when I go to do 4 squared, I do not want to multiply 4 times 2. That's not the same thing as 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. However, for my exponent, when I'm raising a power to a power, that's where I will multiply. So this will be x to the power of 6. And that would be your final answer there, 16x to the 6th. Question 4 uses a similar method. This time I'm raising to the power of 4, and I have a negative 3 and an m to the 5th. And remember, those will work differently. So when I go to do negative 3 to the power of 4, remember that's like negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. And I would approach this by multiplying 2 negative 3's together to make 9, and then these 2 negative 3's together to make 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. Again, we're focusing here on doing this without a calculator, so hopefully that mental math method proves useful to you. And then here I'm going to follow the same rule that I have on 1 through 4. 5 times 4 is 20, so this will become m to the 20th. Okay? If you somehow ended up with negative 81, you possibly forgot that a negative number raised to an even power becomes a positive number. Okay, let's look at question 5, because I got lots of questions on question 5 in class. When you have a fraction raised to a power, that means you are raising the top number and the bottom number to that power. Here's how I would approach this one. I would ignore that negative for now, and you'll notice that in this section, or in this chapter, we do that a lot. We ignore that negative on the exponent until the very end. I'm going to start by just doing 3 to the power of 3 and 2 to the power of 3. And remember, when I say to the power of, that does not mean just to do 3 times 3 and 2 times 3. 3 to the power of 3 is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. And then 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Now we have to go back and think about what that negative exponent would do. And with a fraction, a negative exponent is going to make the bottom number move to the top and the top number move to the bottom. Basically, it's going to flip your fraction over, and it'll become 8 over 27. And that's it. So let's do something very similar for number 6. Number 6 wants us to do 4 over 5 to the power of negative 2. So I'll do 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. Again, 4 squared means 4 times 4. 5 squared means 5 times 5. And then because it's negative, let's flip it over. And it would become 25 over 16 for your final answer. And question 7. Question 7 wants us to take 2k over 3 and square it. There are 3 pieces inside the parentheses here. You have a 2, a k, and a 3, and this square needs to apply to all 3 of them. So I need to square all 3 of those things. 2 squared will give me 4. Don't forget to square that k, so that'll become k squared, and 3 squared will give me 9. And that would be your final answer, 4k squared over 9. Okay, that's it for this first video. The next video will cover the second half of this page, numbers 8 through 14.